However, it seemed that China was taking this as an opportunity. The 8th Combined Brigade of the 78th Group Army Northern Chinese government was stationed in Harbin, but started moving toward Dandong. And they began to look for an opportunity to intervene in North Korea. Once they are ready, they will immediately intervene in North Korean politics. South Korea was totally unaware of the situation. Their focus on sudden change in North Korea made them overlook China's bigger actions. National Intelligence Service. This is the main headquarters of the National Intelligence Service. With limited information on sudden changes in North Korea and unusual Chinese military movements, the National Intelligence Service became very busy. The National Intelligence Service is an intelligence agency directly under the president. Although it's not what it used to be, it's still one of the top intelligence agencies in Korea. While the Defense Intelligence Command lost all human intelligence, the National Intelligence Service kept some, allowing them to retain some information on North Korea. However, the National Intelligence Service was also tracking Kim Yo-jong's whereabouts. According to what they found, the only information they had was that Kim Yo-jong boarded a certain ship in Nampo, and after that, there has been no news at all. However, the National Intelligence Service focused more on China's actions than North Korea's sudden changes. The Chinese government is secretly developing the Shaokyua Plan, which means chick plan in Korean. Like a hen protecting her chicks, China plans to protect and manage North Korea. Recently, the Chinese government has tried to claim Korea was originally Chinese territory, using projects like the Northeast Project and efforts to subordinate Korean culture. This was one part of the Chick Plan. The main unit carrying out the Chick Plan is the Northern Government. It's a military unit located in Manchuria and the Shandong Peninsula, and it's estimated that the troops stationed here alone number around 200,000. It consists of the 78th, 79th, and 80th Group Armies. In particular, the 79th Group Army, stationed in Yanqingchang near the Yalu River, played a leading role in carrying out this Chick Plan. China prepared this Chick Plan with meticulous detail. Some Chinese soldiers were taught Korean, and they also ensured they had Korean-speaking personnel. To deploy Chinese troops across the Yalu and Tumen rivers, infrastructure had to be built. They finished building operational roads to efficiently support North Korea. They spent 2.5 trillion Korean won to finish everything. The national government was very concerned. If the Chick intervention is triggered, China will clearly intervene on the Korean peninsula and could reach Pyongyang faster than South Korea. For South Korea, this is the worst case scenario, so the National Intelligence Service reports it to higher authorities. Meanwhile, there were unusual movements in the demilitarized zone, and the movements of the North Korean military were suspicious. It was confirmed that the artillery forces, including long-range artillery, had been reinforced by about 2 times. The weapons deployed to the frontline units were kept in a ready-to-fire state, and it was also confirmed that the troops were fully equipped and in a state of readiness. Japan confirmed it withdrew some units from near the armistice line. North Korea canceled all regular training, and sightings of heavily armed soldiers have increased. The most decisive thing is that movements indicating attack readiness have been observed. North Korean soldiers have been deployed to their positions, and it has been confirmed that they have been issued live ammunition. In some areas, both regular troops and paramilitary groups like the Workers' Militia and Red Youth Guard are on 24-hour combat alert. All institutions, enterprises, and cooperative farms in frontline areas are on the brink of war. Oddly, it was suspicious they weren't going to South Korea. In this situation, with news coming in about sudden changes within North Korea and the movement of Chinese troops to Dandong, there were calls within the South Korean military to strengthen their readiness posture. Nothing has happened yet, so the alert level isn't at DEFCON 3, but the military is in a combat readiness state equal to DEFCON 3. The Jinduk-gai 1 alert was issued near the demilitarized zone as a defense readiness step against possible North Korean provocations. Among them, Jinduk-gai 1 is the highest level of alert for the South Korean military. Jin.Gay Level 3 is the standard. If significant threats like armed spies or infiltration arise, it's raised to Level 2 for actual threats, like North Korean provocations or a situation nearing war. Level 1 is declared. Jin.Gay refers to preparing for wartime. When an alert is given, both military and police are mobilized for security. Other duties are restricted, and they must quickly deploy to assigned areas for search and combat missions. DEFCON is still at level 4, and Jin.Gay 1 has been issued. The reason for this is that raising the DEFCON level requires the agreement of the top military commanders of both South Korea and the United States. Also, raising the DEFCON level could increase public anxiety, so instead of raising it, they issued an alert equivalent to DEFCON 3 and handled the situation by issuing Jin.Gay 1. As a result, the military police became busy, and our military deployed many vehicles to respond to North Korean forces. With dozens or hundreds of vehicles exiting at once, some roads experienced severe traffic jams. This also happened in Kyorwan, home to the 6th Infantry Division, making the Military Police Battalion very busy. Military police are a branch responsible for maintaining order, and they are soldiers who serve as police within the military. Many believe military police only investigate or enforce discipline, but that's not true. Military police also handle traffic control. The whole Military Police Battalion helped ease road congestion. With hundreds of vehicles leaving at once, we set all military vehicles to 40 km/h and sent them to their destinations. So at least the roads flowed smoothly. In some areas, the Military Police Battalion didn't control the traffic properly, so civilian and military vehicles got mixed together, and small towns with only tens of thousands of people experienced severe congestion. Some areas had traffic accidents with casualties. Military Police Battalion's traffic control was also important. After that, the Military Police Office made efforts to improve their traffic control abilities because of this incident. This played a crucial role in reducing damage in future events. Since Jindagai Hana was issued, Korea Combat Training Center training stopped completely, and the Jong-un unit responsible for Korea Combat Training Center training shifted to security operations. Some might think that the Jong-un unit, as a specialized Korean Army regiment, doesn't carry out any operations during wartime. However, the Jong-un unit is also deployed in mountainous environments during wartime to conduct combat operations, since it is clearly an infantry unit. Korea Combat Training Center training was suspended, and everyone was reassigned to security operations. Purges of those blamed for the damage were underway in Pyongyang. Kim Joo-wee's faction had seized power, and her supporters were rapidly filling positions. Also, as public opinion formed that the funeral committee should be organized quickly, and Kim Jong-un's funeral should be held first, the formation of the funeral committee proceeded rapidly as well. This initiative was led by Guard Command's commander, Chang-sik, who had a dream. Since Kim Joo-ae was born in 2013 and is still very young, his plan was to set up everything to control North Korea before she matured. Despite different political backgrounds, his thinking matched Kim Yo-jong's. General Chang-sik started filling the positions left vacant by the Memorial Committee and Purges with his own people. They couldn't ignore General Chang-sik's demands. His role in stopping the last coup was significant, and Kim Jae only followed General Chang-sik, whose influence became overwhelming. General Chang-sik either reassigned opponents to minor roles or eliminated them by accusing them of joining the coup. General Chang-sik acted as if prepared, and it all happened in 2 days. After removing the Security Bureau Director and taking control, he could do whatever he wanted. Over 500 people were purged, reassigned, transferred, or went missing. This number greatly surpassed the previous Chang-sik list of about 70 even innocents were purged, increasing military discontent. There was also strong resentment within the party, including the Central Committee of the Workers' Party. The Kim Yo-jong faction took advantage of this moment by gradually recruiting discontented North Korean generals. So you're saying they waited to eliminate Chang-sik? Chang-sik believed Jo Sejong Action wasn't part of the political conflict, and since Kim Jong-un started it, would back Kim Joo-il. This was a major mistake. As a result, more North Korean military officials grew dissatisfied with Chang-sik. That makes sense, since the Guard Command isn't a standard North Korean military unit. They don't follow the general staff, but get direct orders from Baekdu Yultong. That's why it's called a paramilitary group, not a regular army unit. The Guard Command is similar to the SS in Nazi Germany. During World War I, the SS in Nazi Germany operated under military command, not the Nazi Party. The Guard Command is even more extreme, able to issue orders to people's army commanders. Given the situation, it's understandable there'd be resentment when an outsider like Chang-sik leads and commits atrocities. At the same time, there were situations where China's new leadership also became uncomfortable. Most of the Kim Yo-jong faction were pro-China and were purged due to fears they'd block Kim Joo-wee's rise to power. China's influence was already declining, and General Chang-sik's actions reduced it further. 5 Chinese investors and 1 businessman were arrested. China had banned its citizens from investing or living south of the Nampo and Wonsan lines, even if they invested in North Korea. This was to ensure they could rescue Chinese citizens living or staying in North Korea in case an unstable situation occurred there. After North Korea allied with Russia, Russia gained all influence there, prompting China to abandon its previous principles out of concern. However, they ended up arresting Chinese people who were investing and doing business in Pyongyang and the southern regions. The reason was that they were accused of supporting this coup d'etat. Now that it has been confirmed that some Chinese troops are moving to the Dandong area, this is an act of provoking China. Chang-sik followed the principle of, when in Rome, do as the Romans do in his actions. General Chang-sik firmly believed China wouldn't attack him due to the Northern Russian alliance. The North Russia Comprehensive Partnership Treaty had an automatic military intervention clause, so there was a belief that even if China attacked North Korea, Russia would stop them. General Chang-sik believed China would not take military action even with strong pressure. He also aimed to quickly seize power and then free the Chinese people. The issue was, Kim Yo-jong was still missing, so all North Korean intelligence agencies were searching for her. General Chang-sik's reckless purges caused resentment. Acting like a king, his excessive actions naturally provoked backlash. In this situation, Kim Yo-jong and her close associates were able to escape with their lives because they managed to get out of Pyongyang just before the coup. But their whereabouts remained unknown, a mistake that would later haunt General Chang-sik. Kim Yo-jong kept gathering information since Jo Jang-hak-seon was alive, though General Chang-sik believed he had purged Kim Yo-jong's faction. Jo Jang-hak-seon was secretly growing the anti-Chang-sik faction. The Navy and Air Force, once part of Kim Yo-jong's faction, became even more supportive of her. North Korea's Navy and Air Force weren't punished because they didn't join the coup. Anyway, the memorial committee was formed just as Chang-sik wanted, and soon Kim Jong-un's funeral was held. It was held very grandly, and in front of it stood Kim Ju-ae. This is the Defense Intelligence Command. An emergency was declared here. First of all, contact was completely lost with the Liberal Democratic Party figures, who are dissidents in North Korea. They learned General Chang-sik had taken control of North Korea, prompting the Defense Intelligence Command to analyze him. General Chang-sik drew South Korean intelligence's attention after being elected deputy to the 14th Supreme People's Assembly in March 2019. Then, on April 10, 2019, at the 4th plenary meeting of the 7th Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, he was elected as a candidate member of the party's Central Committee and succeeded Yoon Jong-rin as the commander of the Guard Command. General Chang-sik was quickly promoted due to Kim Jong-un's favor and support. General Chang-sik is seen as ruthless, executing Kim Jong-un's orders efficiently and gaining his trust. During his time at the Guard Command, he personally managed part of the military parade and was evaluated as highly capable. In May 2022, he was a funeral committee member for Hyun-chul, and by overseeing the February 8, 2023 military parade, he became a significant figure in North Korea. However, many in the military disliked General Chang-sik due to his fiery personality. He was known for distrusting China and having some ambition for power. Whenever there was a power transition in North Korea, they always carried out provocations against the South, so South Korea had no choice but to be on edge. Unable to reach the only source at Defense Intelligence Command, they became more tense. Then, new information arrived, making Defense Intelligence Command even more nervous. South Korea has 5 reconnaissance satellites under the 4-25 project. It's called the Eyes of the military response system that detects North Korea's threats in real time and enables preemptive strikes. The 425 project, finished in 2025, allows ongoing monitoring of North Korea's nuclear and missile capabilities. With these 5 reconnaissance satellites, we tracked Chinese military movements and gathered limited information in North Korea. But the problem is that the April 25th system has a revisit cycle of about 2 hours over the Korean Peninsula, so there are some surveillance gaps. A microsatellite system project is underway to fill this gap, but surveillance gaps remain. And this satellite also showed some significant images. It was confirmed that the Chinese military was directly deploying troops one by one to the Dandong area and the Yanbian area. That part was suspicious, and some North Korean military submarines have vanished. North Korea has 4 West Coast submarine bases, and about 30 submarines have vanished from them, making it easy for subs to hide. The Defense Intelligence Command began tracking both Kim Hae-jung's location and the submarines. About half of the 70 submarines had left their bases and couldn't be located. Unusual large-scale North Korean submarine movements suggested possible provocations, prompting increased readiness. The military also raised alert levels due to simultaneous provocation signs. The United States managed to locate Kim Yo-jong and confirmed she was hiding in a submarine. However, there is also some unfortunate news. Kim Yo-jong, fearing for her own death, brought in the Chinese military. China also had some justification for its actions. Since it was confirmed that North Korea had detained and arrested Chinese citizens without any consultation, China found itself in a position where it could no longer back down. China had invested heavily in North Korea and couldn't just walk away. It was too valuable to simply hand over the North Korean region to Russia. On top of that, if it became known that they had supported Kim Yo-jong, they would never be able to maintain a friendly relationship with North Korea, so they started thinking about making Kim Yo-jong the leader of North Korea again. Meanwhile, China had completed all preparations for intervention in North Korea. The construction of the supply roads for transporting troops was already finished as well. They had also set up all the field hospitals so they could quickly treat the wounded. Meanwhile, this information also reached South Korea. Through the information provided by the United States, word spread that China could soon intervene in North Korea. The 777th Command gathered signal intelligence and reported that Kim Hyo-jung's associate had sent information to China. In South Korea, debates persisted over possible Chinese intervention, but the situation was anything but normal. There were clear signs of war, such as unusually large convoys gathering at certain locations, field hospitals being set up in the Dandong area, and a sudden surge in the production of equipment like bulletproof vests and helmets. Signs everywhere made it hard to see these as routine movements. South Korea noticed these signs with disbelief but took no action. In China, conditions were pushing the discussion toward intervention, leaving the country with little choice but to get involved. From China's perspective, they believed that a force they had not yet recognized had taken power. Because Chang-sik, not Kim Ju-hae, was actually in charge of everything. As a result, they judged that the current North Korean regime lacked legitimacy. Additionally, reports said Chinese people were detained and had assets seized, making it seem like China's influence was vanishing. There was a clear reason to intervene to protect their citizens and property. For this intervention, they needed international support, justification, and practical benefits. China set 3 goals. First, justifying them by protecting Chinese citizens' lives and property, and as practical benefits, they declared Admiral Chang-sik's cabinet illegal and formed a new one with pro-China forces. They said they'd control North Korea's nuclear weapons by taking over its nuclear facilities, which sounded plausible. The sudden crisis in North Korea also increased China's geopolitical and non-strategic vulnerabilities. Historically, the Korean Peninsula has been a route for invading mainland China. Imperial Russia, Japan, and the United States have threatened China's security via the Korean Peninsula since the 19th century. By land, one could travel from North Korea via Shanghai, Guan to Beijing, or by sea, reach Tianjin and Beijing through the West Sea. China's intervention in the Korean War was a clear example of how sensitively China reacts to such security threats. If North Korea collapses and the buffer zone is lost, China would be exposed to its enemy. China's intervention was inevitable, as it kept updating and analyzing information on North Korea's nuclear sites. China not only deployed the 48th Combined Brigade to Dandong, but also stationed the 202nd Combined Brigade and the 78th Artillery Brigade in Dandong. The 79th Group Army in Liaoning Province began full war preparations, with 12 brigades preparing to intervene in North Korea. Additionally, Inner Mongolian volunteer forces were deployed to Dandong for immediate dispatch if needed. A crucial moment was near.
Korean subtitles by Han Hyo-jung.
Fall apart but you.
Amen.